You see, the truth is that for many of us, even if the opportunity that we've been waiting for, planning for, researching, even if it landed right in front of us and the door flung wide open, many of us would not feel ready to step through the door. Imposter syndrome is that little lie that tells you, you do not deserve to be here. You are so lucky that you're even sitting at this table. Tonight, I want to talk about what imposter syndrome is, why we get so locked up in it, and most importantly, how to step out of the cage. Imposter syndrome is not self-doubt. Self-doubt is something we all feel, especially when we're trying something new or taking a risk. Maybe walking into this room, you noticed self-doubt following you in. Imposter syndrome is defined by people who have an unrealistic definition of competence. It's not self-doubt, it's an unrealistic definition of competence. And I don't know what imposter syndrome has told you about you, but when we name our cage, we can find our freedom and step away from all the limiting beliefs and lies that we've picked up along the way. And so if you want to overcome the shame, the doubt, the insecurity that is imposter syndrome, you have to diagnose yourself accurately. And so tonight, I'm going to share with you the 5 types of imposter syndrome. And I hope that as you get a nice, accurate diagnosis for your cage, you'll be able to figure out some really great steps to moving forward. First up, we have the perfectionist. The perfectionist is the woman who is being accused of being a micromanager. She has a hard time delegating. When she misses the insanely high standards that she sets for herself, she ruminates and chews on it for days. You see, the perfectionist, her focus is on how something is done. It's not about the outcome or the product or the accolade, but she is evaluating her how and comparing it to this level of competence that is unrealistic. And so it's one minor flaw equals failure and shame. The expert feels like they never know enough. No matter what everyone tells them, no matter how long they've been in that role or in that industry, they still feel like it's never enough. And if you really want to know if you're an expert, you cringe when someone says you're an expert. The soloist feels like in order to be legitimate and taken seriously, they need to accomplish things on their own. They need the independence, they don't want to rely on anybody, and for a soloist, asking for help will reveal, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just faking it till I make it. And if I tell you that I need some help or some advice, you'll know how much I don't know about this. The soloist mostly cares about the who completes the task, who gets it done. And to make it onto the achievement list, the soloist feels like, I need to do it. It only counts if I got it done. The natural genius measures competence on how quickly they learn something. A natural genius will have alarm bells going off in the back of their head if they're not fluent and there isn't like an ease to what they're doing. I'm a natural genius. That sounds like a brag, but I don't want to play if I can't win. If I can't pick it up and get it right straight away, I'm like, well, obviously I can't do this, not my jam, not my wheelhouse. And so what I tend to do is gravitate to things that come naturally to me because I feel competent, whereas if there's a steep learning curve or it takes a long time to pick up a skill, I tell myself, you're an idiot, you could never do that, and I avoid it. And then finally, our 5th imposter is the superwoman. The superwoman stays later, works longer than everybody else. The superwoman is the woman who feels anxious if she's not busy, if there isn't evidence of her productivity and her accomplishments in her schedule. If she falls short in one area, that means she's failed in all of them. Because she wears so many hats, dropping the ball in the parent arena means I am not a good employee or friend or partner. You have to be able to handle it all and handle it all perfectly to be able to say, that was good enough. Right, so what we're going to do now is do what you guys are already kind of doing, and we're going to take 5 minutes to chat to the people around you about what type of imposter syndrome you think you might have. And before we do that, I just want to press pause and say that if none of these resonated with you, or if perhaps imposter syndrome is not the name of your cage, the fact that 70% of women struggle with this at some point means the woman you lead, the woman you work alongside, the woman that you are mentoring or investing in or want to see flourishing may very well be sitting in that cage. And so, take some time now to answer these questions. Which type of imposter syndrome do you think you might have? And what does that feel like for you? I can only imagine how many contexts there are, how many stories and lives and businesses and careers and opportunities are represented by each of you. What does it look like in your world? And then, this is a really great question. How do you think it might be impacting your career? Did anyone relate to the expert imposter syndrome? I need to know everything there is about everything. They're all sitting at the back. Someone psychoanalyze that for us. Okay, so the experts. Do we have any soloists in the house? Only I can do it. Yeah? Okay. Who's like, oh my gosh, I have all of them. I have the most chronic imposter syndrome. Okay, any other natural geniuses? Awesome. We're actually the best ones. Now, what do we see? We look around this room, and I don't know how NextUp managed to, gather every single incompetent person in Denver into one room. What are the chances? Is that what is happening here? Are there 165 frauds in one space? Of course not. I hope that you are realizing you are not alone. And so tonight, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you not just with an awareness of naming your cage, not just understanding how your brain got you in there and it's doing its best, but we need to help it get out. But I want to give you 3 really practical tools to overcome imposter syndrome. This is how we get out of the cage. The first tool and practical step is facts over feelings. You are not an imposter. You feel like an imposter. You're not a fake. You're not a fraud. You feel like a fake. You feel like a fraud. And you know what? When you walk out of those doors, you will still feel that way because feelings take longer to change. And so what we have to do if we want to get out of the cage is we have to decide, I feel like an imposter, but I'm going to think like a non-imposter. So facts over feelings. The second piece of advice that I have for those of us who are locked in the cage of imposter syndrome is walk out the door. And what I mean by that is just keep showing up. Do the thing. Do the thing you know you're meant to do. Just walk out the door. And so many of us with imposter syndrome have got such high levels of expectation, such high standards, such overly complicated definitions of competence that we don't just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And then finally, the last thing we can do to combat imposter syndrome is name it to tame it. So often the things that go on in our heads are these insidious, nebulous, hard to define thoughts that are swirling around and getting bigger and bigger in our heads. And neuroscience shows that as soon as we name it, we contain it. We actually give it parameters. Language is a container for something. It gives it a beginning and an end, a definition. And so I want to encourage you, whether it is in a moment like this where you're like, yeah, I think I might be a natural genius like Jess. Or if it is, you know what, I know I'm a perfectionist, I am going to send this project in. I'm going to click send on what I think is 75% good. Name it to tame it. Know what she sounds like, recognize her when she shows up, and put her in the corner. Friends, I hope that today you have found something useful about imposter syndrome. And I really do believe that when we name our cages, we find our freedom.